What is up, you guys? For today's video, I'm going to share with you guys how to get this cotton candy spring inspired look using the brand new Morphe 35i Icy Fantasy palette. And oh my gosh, like literally this palette is so beautiful. I love the packaging of it with the foil detailing. It is stunning. And if you haven't seen the inside of this palette, like girl, you are missing out because like look at how pretty that is. It is literally a pastel rainbow, which I am obsessed with. But nonetheless, if you'd like to see how I did this look using this palette as well as my thoughts and opinions about it, then just stay tuned on watching. However, before we jump into it, I would really appreciate if you hit the subscribe button down below and give this video a like. And also, if you'd like to check me out on Instagram, my Instagram account is @lethal_kitten, where I post a bunch more tutorials over on there if you're looking for some inspiration. So before we jump into the palette, I do want to prime my eyelids first, and of course we are going to be using my favorite, which is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Eye Primer. So today we are going to be using the brand new Morphe 35i Icy Fantasy palette, and oh my gosh, I don't know why, but the title of this one is such a tongue twister for me, but nonetheless, isn't the packaging so beautiful? I love that it has like this water marbling effect to it with like this really cool kind of like foiled effect with the text. It is so gorgeous, and I also just really appreciate the color story of this one too, because I mean, you just don't see that many pastel palettes, and this one is like a full-on pastel palette, but I also really like that it's kind of a little bit more leaning cool tone because you get these really pretty like smoky gray tones, which are really hard to find. I just noticed this, but the brighter pastel shades in here are matte, which I am so excited for, and I'm so happy that they did it that way. But the first one that we are going to be going in with is this really pretty teal shade called Chill Thrill. So using this Luxie 229 tapered blending brush, I'm going to be applying this to the inner third of my eye. So what I'm doing is applying it into my crease and then blending it upwards towards my brow, but I'm keeping the rest of this all clear because we're going to be applying other shades there later. So I'm just going to go in with a second dip just to see if we can get it a little bit brighter and to make it look like it does in the pan. Wow, I just absolutely adore this teal shade. Like seriously, it is so gorgeous. It's kind of like a teal and it just has like this little hint of pastel to it, which is so beautiful. But the next shade that we are going to be going in with is another blue, of course, and that one is called Into the Blue. Then using a different Luxie 229 tapered blending brush, I'm going to be applying this in the inner third of my crease. So I'm applying it right into my crease and then doing back and forth motions upwards towards my brow to blend it. Ooh, that color though, that one's really pretty too. I like that this one like has like the slightest hint of purple to it almost. It's really stunning. And then I'm just going to go in with a second layer just to see if we can build this baby up a little bit. And I'm also overlapping it a little bit with that teal shade, just so we can start blending the two together. I don't know about you, but this is really giving me mermaid vibes in a way, and I absolutely adore mermaids. I think they're just so pretty and so elegant. But the next shade that we are going to be going in with is this really pretty matte purple shade called Dreamer. And then using this Luxie 227 blending brush, I'm going to be applying this in the outer third of my lid, as well as using it to round out my outer V. And when I'm doing this too, I am slightly overlapping it with that blue shade that we just applied, just to help start getting the blending process there. And I'm just going to go in with a second layer just to see if we can build things up a little bit. But I will say so far this shadow is the one that has like the most pigmentation that we have used, because the other two are definite like buildable formulas, whereas this one doesn't seem like it is as much. But nonetheless, I really love how it's working. I haven't had a problem with any of these shadows yet, which I'm really impressed with because pastels are so tricky to use. They can be super chalky, really dusty. Sometimes they don't even really stick to the eyes, but so far these have been amazing. So if you're having a problem blending your colors together, I do want to show you guys my trick. So what I'm going to do is take that brush that we applied the purple with, and I'm not using any additional product. And I'm going to be taking it the long way, so up and down. And then I'm just going to do a little back and forth motion between the blue and the purple right on that harsh line. So once you did that, now I'm going to take the brush that we applied the blue with, and I'm going to be doing the exact same thing. So I'm going right over that harsh line between the two colors. You may have to do this a couple of times, but this will seriously give you an amazing blend. I absolutely love how this is turning out. It's very like pastel yet bright at the same time, and I just love the colors that we're using. And I don't know if you're like this too, but I hate winter, and we're getting a lot of snow and a lot of ice right now, and I am totally over it. So seeing these types of colors just get me so excited for spring to come along because I am just sick of winter in general. But nonetheless, I'm just going to cut my crease real quick and then I'll be right back. So here's where I'm at right now after cutting the crease, and the base is 100% dry, which you really want to make sure of because it is so much easier to apply shadows on top once it is. But the next shade that we are going to be going in with, I'm really curious about, and that is that matte white shade in the palette called Whiteout. In my personal experience with matte whites, they're either really good or they're really bad. There is never an in-between. But what we're going to do is apply this matte white using a flat shader brush, and I'm going to be packing it anywhere that that base is showing from the cut crease. And I'm really making sure that I am pressing it in. I gotta say though, this matte white is actually fairly nice. You know, going into this, I had practically like no high expectations for it because a lot of times matte whites or matte creams in general from Morphe are really tricky to work with and they just don't have a lot of pigment to them. But this one actually is fairly nice. I wouldn't say that it is as pigmented as the white in the Norvina Volume 1 palette, but nonetheless, it is actually a really nice shadow. So once you have that applied, the next shade that we are going to be going in with is this really cool peachy pink shade called Sky High. And then using this Luxie 209 large shading brush, I'm going to be packing this on the outer third of my lid. I don't know why, but I just didn't like how that brush applied that shadow, so I'm going to go in with this ABH A13 brush and start packing it in the exact same spot. I'm also slightly overlapping it with the purple in the outer V2. So I just want to show you this, but right now I have a little bit of a dry spot on my eyelid. I think what happened is my serum got on my lid somehow. But I don't know if you can see it, but like right here, it looks so textured and like the shadow just does not want to stick. Whereas on this side of my eye, I don't have the problem because I don't have the dry spot. So do keep that in mind. If you do have dry eyelids, you might have a little bit of a problem getting these to stick. So to counteract that, what we're going to do is we're going to go in with this shimmery peachy shade called Soar. And then using that ABH A13 brush, I'm going to be packing it on the outer third of my lid. And hoping that it kind of gets rid of that textured look that we have going on right now because it is not cute and I do not like how it looks. So once you have that applied, the next thing that we are going to be doing is kind of fixing this outer V situation that we have going on. So what I'm going to do is go in with a little bit of that peachy pink matte shade that we used earlier and mix it in with that purple matte that we used in the outer V. And then using this Moda brush, this little flat shader brush, I'm going to be packing it right on that harsh line between the two colors. And this is honestly what I feel is the downfall of this palette, is that there is no bubblegum pink, which actually kind of surprises me. You would think with a full pastel palette, you'd have like at least like one pink. Not a peachy pink, but like a bubblegum pink. And unfortunately, this palette does not have it. That seriously took me a hot minute to blend out, but the next shade that we're going to be going in with is seriously such a beautiful shimmer shade, and that one is called Brilliant. And then using a damp and flat shader brush, I'm just going to be applying it anywhere that that white is still showing. And when I'm using it, I'm really pressing it in. I don't know why, but I just don't like it applied with a brush, so I do want to try it with my finger on the other eye. And I'm just doing the exact same thing. I'm like pressing it in. Oh yeah, this is definitely one of those shadows where you want to use your finger. Like, see what I mean? Like, it just looks so much more sparkly. So here's where I'm at right now, the look, and seriously, I am obsessed with how it's turning out. It definitely is giving me a spring vibe in a way. I don't know about you, but I don't know. I think it's just so pretty and just so fun. I mean, like, did we have like a little bit of a hiccup with the lid, with the shimmers and all of that? Of course, but at the same time, I still think it's really turning out beautiful. But nonetheless, off camera, I'm just gonna kind of clean things up a little bit as well as apply my complexion products, and then I'll be right back. So here's where I'm at right now with the look after applying my complexion products, and then also I applied a lot of blush today, and I kind of like how it looks. I feel like it just fits the vibe. But now we are going to start working on the lower lash line just to get everything all nice and tied together. And the shade that we are going to be going in with is that really pretty blue shade that we used earlier. And then using this Morphe M507 brush, I'm going to be popping this right underneath the lower lash line. So once you get that lower lash line all nice and smoked out, now we can do the inner corner highlight, which I'm so excited for. And the shade that we are going to be going in with is the one that we used earlier called Brilliant. Then using this Moda brush, this little pencil brush, I'm going to be packing the shit out of this into my inner corner. And I'm also bringing it underneath the inner tear area to open up the eye. And also my brush is dampened, but man, like that is an inner corner highlight. It's so pretty. Like it's seriously so sparkly. But yeah, so here's the finish look using the new Morphe Icy Fantasy palette, and oh my gosh, I literally love the look that we got with this palette today. Like seriously, it is probably one of my favorite looks I've done in a really long time. What I like about it is that it's very pastel, it's very bright, yet really fun at the same time. But nonetheless though, I do want to give you guys my thoughts and opinions about this palette. So let's talk about the eyeshadow palette formula, and I gotta say, girl, there is a lot we need to talk about with this. And let's talk about the mattes though. Like the mattes in here, I actually really enjoy their formula. I know a lot of people haven't been enjoying it, but for me personally, I think it's really nice. I will say the formula of the mattes is a buildable formula, so you do have to build it up to where you want it to be if you want it like super pigmented and really intense. But I just find that that kind of formula is a lot easier to blend out, and just overall it's a lot easier to work with, especially if you're a beginner. But I will say if you're not into a buildable formula, you definitely will not like this palette. Keep in mind too, I did have a little bit of a problem using the mattes on the eye, that I had a little bit of dryness and a little bit of texture, and I don't feel like it's a problem of the eyeshadows themselves, because on my other eye where I don't have that, I had zero problems. So do keep that in mind if you do have drier eyelids or if you have a little bit of texture going on. So now let's talk about the shimmers that we used today, and I gotta say, I actually really enjoy the formula of them. I know I had a little bit of a problem using that brilliant shade that we used on the lid, but honestly, you know, having to use my finger really isn't a big deal as long as I can get some really nice pigmentation with it. And once I used my finger, it was actually really nice and applied really nice too. I will say though, I wonder if it was my brush, because when I used it in the inner corner with the brush, I had no problems and it looks super sparkly. So do keep that in mind. And also that shimmery peachy shade that we used, oh my gosh, like that one is so pigmented and just super sparkly on the lid. So when it comes down to it, would I recommend the Morphe 35 Icy Fantasy palette to you guys? And honestly, I definitely recommend checking this one out, especially if you're looking for a palette that you can play around with pastels with, or if you're looking for a really fun spring palette, you'll really enjoy this one. And I mean, like, you literally get a full-on rainbow palette of pastels, which is so hard to find. I mean, like, seriously, like, look at that color story. It is stunning. And one thing I really enjoy about this palette, though, too, is that a lot of the brighter pastel shades are matte, which makes it so much easier to create looks with. The formula of this palette isn't like pow, instant payoff right as you apply it. You do have to build up the colors, and if you're not into that and you don't want to deal with it, you probably won't enjoy this palette. But if you're looking for something that's really fun and you're looking for these types of colors and you're okay with that, I feel like it's still really worth checking out. And I will say this palette is actually beginner friendly because of the buildable formula. So if you have problems blending out your colors, or if you're really trying to experiment with colors and you don't want them like super intense, I feel like you'd really enjoy this one. But yeah, so in the comments down below, let me know what you think about this look, and also let me know if you'd like to see more looks with this palette, or maybe some Valentine's Day looks, because girl, I just realized that it's coming soon and I'm not ready for February. But nonetheless, though, I would really appreciate if you hit the subscribe button down below and gave this video a like. And also, if you'd like to check me out on Instagram, my Instagram account is @lethal_kitten. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!